It's great to be catching up again with Andrew Partridge from Michell Wool. It's Andrew and I. We're back together again. It's been a few wobbly weeks, as Stephen Reid used to call it, Andrew.
That's right, mate. Yeah, it's a funny sort of time of year, and maybe it was because you were away for a couple of weeks, the market decided to go up. I don't know.
Yeah, look, I am worried about that connection. We might talk about the market first. Plenty of green. You shared a bit about this, I think, recently, but we have got lots more positivity for our wool growers on the market this week.
Yeah, we've sort of been alluding to this last couple of weeks, and with the market sort of heading down and quite sharply towards the bottom when it was sort of dropping down quite sharply each week, it quite often overcorrects, and it's always the fear of waiting to get to buy the cheapest price for the overseas mills, and particularly in China, they're an all in all out sort of country, and yeah, they came back in the last couple of weeks, and we had a lower dollar obviously as well. So the trading environment price wise has been fantastic. Not to take away the fact we've still got the economic thing in left field that's hinging people's ability to buy discretionary products, and that being wool. So we're certainly not out of the woods, but certainly come back, and the market could go up another $50 in the not too distant future, and the price of wool in US terms would still be cheap.
Yeah, you mentioned US terms and the dollar. That seems to me to have been a major influence. The dollar's been tanking lately.
Absolutely, yeah. So 2 or 3 months ago, would you predict that 62 cents? I think it dropped in under at one point in time. I wouldn't have.
No, absolutely not. But there's someone at AWEX obviously is a bit of a statistical nut, and I think it's a fascinating stat. We've had the market rise on roughly the same day, the 19th or 20th of October. For 3 years running now, it's had a rally. What's going on there? Is there something in the water they put in on the 19th of October?
It's funny, isn't it? It looks like a real trend, doesn't it? So circle that on the calendar. It can be very tricky this time of the year. It's a bit out of season. So we go through that July period, and Europeans shut down and do their, clean out their mills and so forth. So we've got the early part of the spring where there's not a lot of demand coming in from overseas, and then we get to sort of the October period. We've got the Northern Hemisphere winter, and everyone waits to see how cold it is, and now it's getting cold over in the Northern Hemisphere, and then they start putting their toes back in the water and take all the left field stuff that's going on at the moment. It is a bit of a trend there, and it has some basis, and then we get to February next year. And quite often the market can go up again because they all evaluate how the winter was and how the shops sold their products and whether they want to restock again. So there's a couple of circles in the calendar there for you, for sure, Rikki.
And what about next week? Is there a circle on the calendar in terms of the amount of bales on offer? I imagine things might jump off the back of some pretty good pricing at last.
Anyone who's got wool in the stores, I'd say, ready for market, certainly going to lift things. We're looking at a roster of a bit over 40,000 bales for the first time now in a few weeks. So, yeah, there's been a bit of wool come forward. Of course, we've still got the saturating conditions in other parts of the state where they're struggling to get sheep shorn. But anyone with wool on hold will be pretty keen to get wool in the market. That 20-hour market indicator, for instance, it's nearly looking at 1,400 clean. That's a good number going back in history.
Absolutely. Look, before we finish, Andrew, you and I think both have got a lot to owe to now the late Stephen Reid. Tragically lost to us in the recent week or so. Certainly I learned a lot from Stephen doing these wool reports each week about the market. How are people holding up at Michell after his sudden passing?
Yeah, it's a very sad circumstances, Rikki. The guy devoted a lot of his time and energy to not only Michell, to the wider wool industry, and held many board positions across the world. So it was very, very proactive in the wool industry, and he's certainly going to leave a big hole for a lot of industry participants and boards and things that he was sitting on. So, not only at Michell, and so, of course, I've got to thank Steve for actually giving me this job at Michell. So it's a bit of a tough time.
It certainly is, and we're all very grateful for his efforts in the industry. Thank you so much, Andrew, for joining us today in what's been a tough couple of weeks, but at least on the market front, things have started to lift for our wool growers.
Thanks, Rikki.